going.
No, I seem to always not catch those ones live.
Good evening if you're watching live, and welcome to episode 175 of the About the Cards podcast. We are live tonight on the YouTube with host Stefan Loeffler at Junk Wax Twins.
Oh, hi.
Myself, Ben Wilson at Our Trading Cards. Guest host Andrew Runnoe at Bayside Breakers. We are a podcast by collectors for collectors, and we hope to bring you a smart and insightful podcast discussing trading card collecting. All cards tell a story. The story is more important than the card itself. This hobby is about that story. We're live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific.
10 Central.
On the YouTube. You can follow us on the Twitter, the Instagram at About the Cards. We're available as a podcast everywhere you can find one. And check out the website, aboutthecards.wordpress.com. A couple quick announcements. Some exciting news. We've reached out to Upper Deck in hopes to get Upper Deck President Jason Mazara on an upcoming show to discuss the Upper Deck NHLPA license extension, Evolution NFT platform. I'll save that for him if he comes on. And then hopefully we can get some exciting behind-the-curtain plans for the 21/22 NHL trading card season. So please stay tuned for a date if we can make that happen. Guys, anything exciting going on in either of your worlds before we hop into it?
I mean, we did just wrap up the Dallas Card Show.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. Had a fun show. Got a good amount of submissions in for our Redmond office. And I got a card or two. Had some fun opening a couple boxes. Angela continues to have the extremely hot hand.
Good.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, Andrew, you got a couple of new Will Clarkson, right?
I did. I got what I get? I got some 5-star green base auto and a 5-star orange golden grass auto. Those just came in literally today.
Open it. You should have waited 5 minutes and open it up live here on the show.
I didn't know what it was, and there was a 50-50 chance it was going to be soccer cards. I know no one cares about those, so I didn't want to do that. Yeah, so I got that, and then I also got my first Sport Lots order box that I just paid and shipped for, so I'm excited for that to come in a week or two. And yeah, just a lot of stuff.
How many cards do you have in that?
Just 400.
400. What
exactly? It just worked out that way.
What would you say that you saved on shipping by going box route versus if you just had them all from countless sellers?
$50.
Nice.
I mean, I bought a lot. I bought a lot of just one cards from single sellers. So, those add up for sure. Easily in that regard.
Yeah, I mean the box is pretty much if you're buying over, I'd say probably about 50 or so cards.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it also depends on the seller because it has to be sellers that offer free to the box.
Or reduced to, a lot of them do reduce to the box too, even, yeah. So
reduced works if you're buying a lot in volume. You really have to. I mean, if there's no savings, there's no reason not to just have them send it directly to you. But
right.
Always, if you're looking to, and again, the whole ComC theory of if you can wait for it, you don't need it today. Definitely benefit. Steph's been holding up a card for about 3 minutes now. What you got?
I did. This is Angela's huge pull.
What is this?
Probably. I'm getting there. Just let it happen. So we bought a box, retail box, Upper Deck Series 2 hockey, $55 a box, cheapest we've seen. And about the last pack or so, she got from Series 2, card number 451. Photo by a buddy of ours, Nick Wasika. Kirill Kaprizov, Young Gun. So she continues to have the hot hand while I, from my box of Diamond Kings, a Shane McClanahan, number to 25. A Casey Mize, 9 of 90. Which
to 90.
Cool.
And that's a double relic.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And a double relic auto of Garrett Crochet. Don't want to.
I've been saying Crotchet. I don't know if that's right though.
Crochet. Close enough.
For the Chicago's.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah.
I don't have it
since the fact that it mentions his playoff debut in Game 3 of the first round against Oakland.
Nice.
Probably the American League Chicago's.
Yeah, that would have been last year. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have it handy, but I picked up a Matt Chapman Topps Rip out of 99. I just wanted the base card ripped, and I ended up getting a really good deal on the unripped. I was going to rip it tonight on the show, but I think I'm going to save it for my son Bentley. Hi, Bentley, if you're listening. He told me that yesterday morning. He's like, Dad, I listen to your podcast every week. But I always give him and Jonathan a hard time about rip cards. And, it doesn't work anymore. I think I've mentioned this on the show. You yell at him, who touched my card and why is it ripped? And they're both just like, Dad, it already came that way in the mail. So I think we'll have a little bit of fun with him ripping it since he actually will have a chance. Now, hopefully get something cool. But it's out of 99, so doubtful. And then, hey, guys, I had a little bit of fun earlier today on the Twitter. If you happen to catch it, I apologize. It was long and lengthy, and I think it's still going on. This guy named
Ben can say that.
Yeah, Stefan. The guy's name was David Peck, and apparently he's well known, according to him, in the economic world of the hobby on Net 54 and other places.
Hey, I know that place. I actually talked to Leon just the other day. Chat
forums, and yeah, he hopped into a conversation with me and Jeff Soxie, who's been on the show, and Mike Biggins from last week, and Gerald New, who's been on the show, and he and his buddy Uncle Danny, that's what he calls himself. They said that none of us knew what we were talking about when it came to cards or economics, so that was fun. Had a lot of fun at his expense. He says cards are investments, and what did he use to defend it? At various times he used Golden Auctions, PWCC, the PSA Pop Report, InvestiCard. That was fun when that one came out of the woodwork to show that lenders will lend against cards as collateral, therefore collateral equals investments. He talked about tangible assets. He talked about everything. He used flippers. That it's like every time he talked more about the economics related to cards being investments, he buried himself further by using examples like InvestiCard and well-known shill bidders and shady auction houses. So it's like I had to tell him no less than a dozen times, just because you can make money off of something does not mean it's an investment. But if you want to catch that, it's all over the Twitter. We had awesome time. And the more he said, and he's like, I got a degree in economics and I've done very well. And even at one time he said he bought a card for $1,500 and turned down an opportunity to make $35,000 off of it, which for those scoring at home would be a 23.3x return. If you're an expert, you don't say no to a 23.3x return, especially at that valuation. But anyway, that was fun. So,
well, if we're going to do the SUC on Twitter early today, I might have been involved myself.
Oh, that's also, yeah. He also was talking about fractional shares. That's the other thing, and regulations. That guy had a lot of fun, but he's well known and he's a hobby economist and he knows things.
Hey,
I saw a funny comparison on Reddit. And I was like, this is a good throwaway tweet. Let me just send it. Beep, boop, copy, paste, send. And it says, World Series rings, Juan Soto 1, Ronald Acuna 1, Mike Trout 0.
But you're forgetting Pablo Sandoval with 4.
4. As many as LeBron James. Well,
see,
rings.
It was just supposed to be a throwaway tweet, not 38 likes, 5 retweets, 9 quote tweets telling me that I'm dumb. Like, guys, it was just a joke. It was just a joke.
People internet very serious, and
The implication being that his management and ownership group isn't the greatest, and that maybe he needs help.
Yeah, but I saw that Drew Williams guy and that knucklehead JB on there, so a lot of it's considered the sources too who chose to. So normally, guys, for anybody that's been listening over the last since Shep left, we've got some exciting. Let's go ahead and get into that real quick too, Steph. True Sports Cards is opening up here in a couple of weeks. I believe Black Friday weekend in Roseville, California. Shep is part of that management team, and perhaps going to have a podcast related. I don't know if it's going to be talking about like in-store happenings or more along the lines of what we've got going here, just with a different platform. But that's exciting news. So follow Steph. Do you have the handle? Is it just True Sports Cards?
So yep, they at True Sports Cards. My understanding is they also have pages on the other socials. But proud to announce that Tim Shepler, aka at Big Shep 79, is part of the True Sports team. His knowledge of sport cards, specifically baseball, is a valuable asset to the shop. Additionally, Big Shep will be hosting #the True Sports Podcast coming soon.
Good for him. I think it's going to focus on sports, and I know he and a former guest as well, Brian Murphy. We're talking about possibly doing something Sacramento Kings related. So a lot of stuff going on for Shep right now. We're proud of him. We're excited for him. And
I have some behind the scenes stuff. People that they have planned to guest, and people who are going to be hosting their trade night. But that's theirs to share.
Yeah,
let's just
shared with me a little bit of
if
things
you're in the area, you may want to check out Shep Shop.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Good for him. We're gonna go off the reservation just a little bit with kind of how we normally, because Andrew's been on with us so many times. We're gonna use the interview discussion part of the show before we really get into it, just to really talk about one specific topic, only because it's a little different than years past. And as we do get into the show, we have a lot of topics that we've skipped in weeks past because we've ran out of time, and I think we'll have some time to get to some of those as well. So it should be a good discussion. So again, since Andrew's a recurring guest host, we want to talk about 2021 Topps Update, which released last Friday, and some of the issues facing manufacturers in general right now. So one of the best follows and hobbyists that I can think of is Suze at Yanks Chick. How do you pronounce her last name, Steph? Do you know?
I've heard it like 3 times. Not going to try to put it. Thanks for putting me on the spot.
Yeah, I always feel bad that we don't talk about her last name because she is such an ambassador to the show. And also, she and Ryan Cracknell were both recently featured in an article on The Athletic if you have a subscription. If not, hit me up and I'll get you the text of it. But they were both, the topic was by Bill Shea, asking what the future of Topps were. And so both Suze and Ryan were featured heavily with their thoughts on that topic. And so, yeah, please. And again, if you're not following her on Wednesday, she did not have one tonight, but she's usually doing the hashtag card chat Wednesdays at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. She didn't have one tonight. She also has an email subscription, so make sure you're subscribing if you aren't already. It's really an extension of her hashtag card chat discussions on Wednesdays with in-depth articles on varying hobby-related topics. The one from this week, she outlined a few reasons why the 2021 Topps Update release is not as anticipated as it generally is, with some concerning changes. Update typically features all of the best call-up rookies through the All-Star game, as well as new players in new places from the trade deadline. But 2021 Update's different. According to her article, 2021 Topps Update rookie call-up deadline must have been much closer to the first week of June, so we aren't going to see or haven't seen the Wander Franco rookie cards. There were no deadline acquisitions, so you're not going to get Rizzo or Gallo on the Yankees, Chris Bryant on the Giants, Starling Marte on the A's, Scherzer and Trey Turner on the Dodgers. And to say, I mean, this was a huge trade deadline, right? Perhaps maybe the most historic. Now there are Tops Now cards of these call-ups and trades, but come on, Tops Now doesn't equal flagship. Usually the All-Star Game, Home Run Derby cards are part of the base set, and this time they're separate inserts. So guys, this begs the question, especially in light of some of the more recent Upper Deck printing challenges that they've talked about. If Tops, did they have to get them to press earlier than usual due to supply chain issues? My question to you guys, is this a 2021 issue? Or are we going to see some of these supply chain issues and manufacturing issues bleed into 2022 and perhaps even beyond?
So I'll start there. So I mean, there's a few things. First off, there's a lot to unpack with that. In terms of the supply chain issues, my brother is part of that supply chain. He is in charge of routing trucks around for shipping and stuff. And he said that the supply chain issues were about 5-6 years in the making, and COVID exacerbated the problem. And he's not seeing it gonna go away anytime soon because it's not necessarily entirely COVID related. There's new laws that have been on the books for 5-6 years that are just now coming into effect that are all pinching issues at the ports. However, that being said, a lot of these cards are also produced in the U.S. I believe Topps and Panini almost exclusively print in Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
And Florida, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not really a foreign shipping issue from that perspective. I mean, I would assume they're not importing the paper for the cards and whatnot.
Minnesota.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's going to get better. I think you'll still see a little bit of bleed into 2022 with this just because I've just heard there's not enough truckers in general. So just it doesn't matter if they can print the cards fast enough if they can't get the cards to where they need to go. I've noticed update 2021, for example, I got my jumbo stuff on Friday. Hobby got delayed, at least here on the West Coast. I don't know if that was due to weather issues because I know, we had the big storm out here and that killed the mountain passes and stuff. So I don't know if that was part of it, but it was just weird to see me getting my jumbo stuff on time, but not Hobby, considering they should be printed at basically the same time.
So for those folks that don't live on the West Coast, real quick, the biggest problem with California when it comes to supply chain challenges is really the Donner Pass, getting through Reno, Nevada, from Nevada into California can be an absolute miserable disaster. And again, you also have the Colorado Rockies as well, if it's coming, long freight. But yeah, sometimes the summit can create some serious issues.
And that's a Northern California issue. Down here in Southern California, if they take the southern route, sometimes the passes will close, but really it's not an issue down here in Southern California. But at least one of my main distributors is located in the northern portion of the Western U.S. And so they actually, in the wintertime, I have to be very careful. I have to be very careful about setting some of those break days on if it's release day, because sometimes they do get delayed a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to add on that stuff?
Yeah, I do. Sorry, I was copying and pasting a thing. No, I mean, if my local shops are any indication, my Target just got opening day. So there's that. But additionally, I mean, Yeah, I mean, we're seeing slowdowns all over the place. People not being able to find things that they previously couldn't, or if they do find it, it's at extremely upcharged prices, shady dealers, etc. My understanding is that for most of the industry, the paper comes from a plant in Minnesota, comes down to Dallas, Florida, or North Carolina for printing, and then goes to distributors or however before it gets to distributors for QA and whatnots. I know that we've seen several delayed and or expunged products already. I wouldn't be surprised to start to see a little bit more of that. Topps Big is probably dead in the water, whether someone wants to admit it or not.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're 8 weeks away from the end of the year on a product that should have been released no later than May,
April,
perhaps
May.
June at the latest.
Now,
Sure.
now I am hearing rumblings that Panini and Topps are going to release a ton of sets here between now. They're going to release a ton of sets now between here and the end of the year. Just looking at how Panini is releasing product for like sales calls and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the past, Topps usually gives you about 4 to 5 months before they release that, hey, this set's coming out.
Sure.
Panini used to be about a month and a half, maybe a month. Right now, some of these sets I'm not getting noticed till like 2 weeks before. So I think you're seeing a lot of Panini, especially being very cautious in announcing a set release until they can confirm that the set is really ready to go. They have a date, because I'm guessing they don't want to have those problems where they're delaying, like Topps and Big is having.
So one thing too is just as a follow up, we're talking about a little bit in the YouTube chat, is you'll end up seeing a lot of these trade deadline acquisitions part of Series 1 most likely. The problem with that is a lot of the big names that moved. I mean, Trey Turner's no big deal, right? Because he's got 1 year left. He'll be a Dodger next year. But, you know, seeing Starling Marte as an A, knowing damn well he's gone, and perhaps Max Scherzer, Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, we don't know if they'll re-sign, but they're all free agents. And there are a lot of players that would have been perfect for update. You know, look at the World Series MVP, right? Jorge Soler. You know, you get him in your Braves jersey. Do you really want him in Series 1? Maybe you do because they won a World Series. But, you know, for a lot of the players that are just 2-month plus rentals, you know, I want them in update. I don't want them in Series 1 because they're not going to be a representative of my team. It makes it really hard to want to collect that. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do? And there are some other issues, too, with update. Card number US 48 was labeled Fast Friends New Teammates Gel, and it's supposed to feature Bo Bichette and Marcus Semien on the front of the card, but it's actually Teoscar Hernandez, not Semien, pictured. Whoops. So Hernandez and Bichette have been teammates since Bichette came up in 2019. So
yeah, I had a good chuckle when this was pointed out on Reddit. And I'm pulling up the pictures now. Essentially, you've got Bo Bichette and Teoscar Hernandez, as it were, kind of hand in hand, probably during the opening of a game here. You can actually almost exactly make out Lou Jays between the two jerseys. Kind of cool. Nice photo. Fast friends, new teammates, gel, except that they've been teammates for a while, as been alluded to. Here's the card back. Bo Bichette, Marcus Semien. That's not.
Hey, but you know what, Steph? That's not all. From Big Shep, he sends out this tweet while he's sorting. He says there's no US 142, which is supposed to be on the checklist, David Hale of the Phillies. There's just no 142, at least not in what he had opened, which I know is at least one case. So it turns out that David Hale is in the set, but he's US 285. The only problem with that, so is Vladimir Gutierrez of the Reds. So there is no 142. There are two 285s. It's not a short print. So if you're out there collecting and sorting, understand that there was a numerical error somewhere on the checklist.
That happens. I mean, it's an odd error. It's not like one where you can pinpoint, oh, they just skipped a number or something.
So this actually, I really want to get to a topic since we're talking about errors later in the show. What constitutes an error? My dad was kind of talking about this the other day, and he was like, well, what about this and what about that? So it's on the notes to discuss at some point on the show. Maybe we'll get to it later if we have some time. So and real quick before we move on and get into this show, while we're on the subject of Topps releases, Ryan Cracknell had tweeted out that Topps Archives, the 2001 Never Forgotten, I'm assuming it's a military memorial set for 9/11, if I'm not mistaken, Steph.
Yep.
I guess it was announced and did not make it into the final product. It was announced, and Ryan says that, sorry. So it had a red, white, and blue American flag on the border. And
you
really
got a nice shot of the flag. In this case, you have DeGrom wearing the NYPD hat, about to pitch a ball with a very mimicked Topps 40th 2001 Topps design, as well as the accent here down by the name and team logo, but with the New York skyline and 20 years since it's been 20 years. As well as gold foiling for Never Forgotten. My
beautiful
reply
card.
was, maybe they were forgotten.
Oh, man.
But beautiful card.
No,
unfortunate.
but it leads to the question: was this set maybe left or meant more so to be released around September 1st?
Isn't that when Archives typically releases around that time?
It's been all
That
over the
would
board.
make a
It
lot
used
of
to be
sense.
early, like March, April, and then the last couple of years it's been later. And Archives was a test product to where they released retail, and then like in April and August you'd see hobby, so split. And it's too bad, and you can't make that card next year because it's a 20-year anniversary of a specific date and event that you're trying to honor and memorialize. So this was your shot to do it. We'll have our Archives drops this week, so we'll talk about it a little bit more in the show with the new releases. Steph, there is another tweet there as well, also from Topps Archives. Topps had dropped this on the tweeter. Just it's another thing, like you said, Andrew. Sometimes this stuff happens, but it's not now and again. It's one of those things, right? It's not forever. It's for a while. Okay, the same kind of a thing. It's not now and again. It's all the friggin' time. It's just what is it this time?
Due to a manufacturing error, the non-autographed version of the Topps Big Mini insert includes the text Topps Certified Autographed Issue in 2021 Topps Archives Baseball. We apologize for any inconvenience.
So Topps Big, a much beloved or extremely hated series from 1988, 89, and 90 is featured in Topps Archives this year. And there are going to be foil parallels, big foil parallels, and then the irony, Topps Big Minis. So it'll probably be the Topps Big design on mini cards. Go figure. Dr. James Beckett and Uncle Rich Klein had a great episode. Yeah, they're neat guys.
Saw them on Sunday.
They had a great one probably about 8 weeks ago, talking about Topps Big specifically and how it was packed out and why it wasn't extremely well received. So great. If you want to go back and catch Sports Card Insights with Dr. James Beckett. But yeah, the Topps Big Minis. So the mini autographs, not available. All right. Good times.
Is it not available? They made it sound like they have autograph and non-autograph versions.
Right.
But
so
the said auto.
Correct. Well. So yeah, just so that there's clarification. Yes, the Topps Big Minis, those will be there. The ones that were supposed to be autographed will not actually have autographs, but when you flip the card over, it'll say it's supposed to be autographed. Sorry for the confusion. Sincerely, Topps Series 1 through the years. Don't really care about you guys. You guys can figure it out in the secondary market and I'm sure people will be calling customer service wondering why that card was not autographed. So let's get into it, guys. We do have a lot to cover and talk about, fun topics. Let's get into the listener mail days. This week's feature courtesy of good buddy Mark Hoyle, who picked up a 1970 Topps Johnny Bench.
He did.
Completing his complete set of 1970?
Complete set of 1970 as well. He mentioned that runs him through 1970 till present. So that's a nice addition, of course. A little beaten up, but I mean, it's 30, 40, 50 years old at this point. As well, he had mentioned he picked up a couple cloth test issues. So in this case, it's 88 Topps. For John Marzano, Joe Sambito, and Dennis Oilcan Boyd, who was also at the show most recently. Couple other test issues. Looks like 76 Topps. Carlton Fisk, Red Sox. Wow, that's impossible to read. Fred Lynn.
Fred Lynn, you got to recognize his face. Come on.
Bright, yeah, that's why I did as it zoomed in.
Yeah.
And Bill Campbell, ex-Twin, wearing a Twins uni, but a photoshopped, airbrushed, not Photoshop, obviously, airbrushed out Red Sox cap.
Man, good for Mark. He's got an awesome collection. I'd love to know how he organizes it all. One of these days I'll ask him. And then you did show Angela's pull of the Kaprizov Young Gun.
It's right here because I can never not show it enough.
I know. Hey,
so this is our second.
It's cool because it was Wasika's picture first off. And what are your thoughts, real quick, Steph? Since we're on the topic of the Topps Now Seattle Kraken cards that have been coming out, those are pretty slick looking.
They are pretty cool. I'm interested to see what they actually who they pair them with. You know, do they get Kraken X Golden Knights or do they just mix? Because my understanding is they try to pair these similar to the regular Top Stickers runs, where it's like one player. But I do like the look for this year. So
yeah, no, I like their color scheme, and of course, you know, I was a big fan of Clash of the Titans growing up.
And
so,
with Series 1 delayed and only having EPAC, those may be the first Seattle Kraken cards.
Nice.
Unless the team issued some. I mean, that's not a card per se, but you guys know what I mean.
Okay. Definition of a card, we talked about that one time. It's kind of like whatever, right? Are the 5x7s cards? If you want them to be. So please feel free to share your About the Cards with About the Cards, your recent awesome mail days or pulls. You can tag at About the Cards on Twitter. Yeah, pictures or videos. We haven't had anybody yet brave enough to give us a video. If you want, kind of keep it under 60 or right around 60 seconds and G-rated, please. You can always use hashtag About the Cards Mail Day on Twitter, and we'll do our best to feature your cards on an upcoming episode. We've had some great listeners, Alex and Debbie, of course, Mark and others that have shared some of their cool stuff. So always love seeing what you're collecting because it allows us to live vicariously through you and almost expand our own collections. Because at the end of the day, it's so much more fun when we can share what we're collecting with one another. Even if it's, a gross Will Clark card or a gross Mark McGuire card. But that's what's fun about it is we don't all have to have it in our PC. We know friends that do, and it's fun to live through them as well.
But is it super hot Invest Slab Char Zion Mark McGuire?
Yeah, absolutely. All of them. All of the above. Fire, one of one. So the week that was last week's release is Topps Living Week 190. Card 461, Enrique Hernandez, outfielder for the Red Sox, and card 462, Albert Pujols, first baseman of the Dodgers in this iteration, and that was Jared Kelly's artwork on the Pujols.
Which is to say that he's also probably not going to get a Topps Living Lidom, although if you guys haven't seen it, you definitely want to go check out his walk-off hit in his first game in the Dominican winter season
Yeah, and he apparently he was doing so well in the Dominican that he's saying that he might not retire, which is what he announced.
Did I drop or did he drop?
Nope, he dropped.
Joy that he may not retire at the end of the season as he previously announced, because I
Earlier.
believe where he was going to go. Hey, welcome back, Ben. Nope.
Yeah, I'm here.
Goodbye.
Okay.
Here.
I'm here. Can you guys hear me? I'm here.
Yeah.
Now we can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, if you're not following Jared Kelly, please do. He likes to share kind of the step-by-step process of how he gets the Tops Living from a blank piece of paper all the way to what we absolutely, or the end result of what we end up buying. So Jared's a fun follow, and hope that he ends up getting his own standalone release at some point as well before Tops loses their license, because that'll be an awesome set. So also releasing last week on Wednesday, the October 27th, was 2021 Panini Absolute Football, 2021 Panini Recon Basketball for the first time, and 2021 Topps Heritage Minor League Baseball. And then on Friday, the aforementioned 2021 Topps Update dropped. Hot off the press, new releases, Topps Living Week 191. Couple of World Series members. Card 463, Eddie Rosario, outfielder for the Braves.
Yeah, I know him.
That of Jared Kelly's art. And then 464, Framber Valdez, pitcher for the Astros. So, good week to drop Eddie Rosario, just because of the fact that man has never seen 2 weeks in his life that lived the way he had. So,
I mean, he pulled off in the World Series, but I definitely agree that he had I don't think anybody could disagree that he had a huge hot start to the postseason. Probably propelled them to the series.
But then he dropped off and Soler picked it up. So
exactly.
I don't think that they're in the World Series, let alone winning one, without what he had done over the previous, during the CS and DS. So
sure,
good week. If you're a fan of the World Series champion Braves, go pick up your Eddie Rosario, and then of course Framber Valdez as well of the Astros. Topps Living Star Wars, available through next Tuesday. Card 253, King Sanjay Rash from Star Wars The Clone Wars. And card 254.
For this next one, can you say it twice?
Numa Numa.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Which
also,
Andrew kind of looks like if you get that reference.
The Numa card is great. I mean, such a cute picture. Also from the Clone Wars. So if you're collecting that,
that says Runnoe for 253, but that's not right.
No, that was from last week. If you click on it, it should fix itself. Yeah. That was from last week. I saw that too. I was like, did I do something wrong? But yeah, no, it's on this case I didn't. Sometimes yes, most of the time possibly. This time I didn't. So Topps Sports Illustrated, available through next Tuesday. This is week 34 of 35. Next week is the last week. Card 67, Mariano Rivera of the Yankees. Could be from 2009, could be from 2013. There was one that, like the base card design said 2009 was the cover, but like the autograph one said 2013 when I clicked on it earlier in the week. So not 100% certain which year it was from.
I can read it. It says November 2009.
Up on the top.
Which would make sense in that the Yankees were in the series that year.
Yeah, I figured it was 09. I said maybe 2013 because one of the other links had 2013. And then card 68, Randy Johnson with the Mariners from 1997. That's the same image that Paul Genis used in Game Within the Game, at least the base design. And then he also had an in-action Randy Johnson with the Diamondbacks. So good picture of Randy. Again, this is the second to last week, so grab those cards if you collect either Rivera or Johnson. Topps Throwback Thursday, available through tomorrow morning. This is set number 43, 1982 Baseball in Action. This is the third of 4 appearances. So this will be cards 7, 8, and 9 in that subset. Card 127, George Brett. 128 Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with the short print variation, and 129 Bobby Dalbec. So kind of a fun set.
2 sliders and one throwee.
Those are some cool pictures.
Brooks Robinson was also throwing. I wonder what set 1 was. We'd have to go back and take a look and see if maybe they've got the veterans throwing and the younger players. I think there's Willie Mays sliding, so maybe that's not. Maybe we're just trying to read too much into it because they did the hat tipping before that. So,
it's tough, so we never know.
Never know. They got one complete set of 12 with similar designs. That's they need to take the rest of the year off. That's hard work for them. So, 2021 Upper Deck AHL Hockey drops today. On the link, there was no price. It says, please contact to order. Now, this is blowout. I didn't go look for other ones. I just needed the product details. At least with them, they said, please contact to order. And again, they said no international shipping until November 3rd, 2022. So keep that in mind if you are going to go buy the AHL Hockey. I don't know what the price point is. Product highlights: 12 packs in a box, 12 cards in a pack, 200 base card set with 150 vets and 50 rookies, 1 auto, 1 numbered base parallel, and 1 additional chase card in each box. Steph, how does this measure up to like Series 1?
This is like a
minor leagues,
pro
right?
debut kind of deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
AHL is kind of like the AAA for hockey. You have either the people that were just drafted and didn't quite make the team, need a little bit of seasoning, people that are sent down for injuries. Essentially, like I said, the AAA rounding out. I did find it interesting that, much like you alluded to, they won't be available until 2022 for the U.S., and that it's the American Hockey League.
Mm-hmm.
So international includes us, right? Because it's coming. I figured it would be outside of North America would be international. That's just my idea of what international means. I would think domestic probably would still include Mexico and Canada or the United States.
You could do that, not ship to the North America.
Or rather, would Canada be considered international?
I mean, if it's printing in the United States, my thought with international would be if it has to hop on a plane or a cargo ship to get somewhere, whereas, Mexico and Canada, if it's in the U.S., you can hop on a car, a train, a bus, you throw it over the border. I wouldn't think that would be considered international. I know other industries.
I mean, if you have to pay duties, it's at least to me, if you have to pay duties, it's international.
Be interesting to know.
Second national.
If anybody out there has any information on whether or not this particular industry considers U.S. to Canada, Canada to U.S. international shipping in this particular capacity, we'd love to have a little bit more information from somebody that knows.
I bet you the president of Upper Deck would know if he ever came on.
That's right. There you go. Look at that.
I know what we consider international, but...
All right, and then also dropping on Friday, the aforementioned 2021 Topps Archives comes at you at $123 a box, 24 packs, 8 cards in each. It's a 300-card base set featuring base card designs from 1957, 1962, 1973, 1983, 1991, 2001, 2011, and I mean the last one. Who doesn't want archives cards from 2019? I mean, seeing really modern day players, get this, guys, on 1957 Topps, 62 Topps, and get this, 2019 Topps. I can't wait for my favorite start. An Aaron Judge, a Shohei Ohtani on a 2019 card. That's amazing. So that's exactly why archives is a horrible product.
I'm going to assume that you have some Listexia issues. Base cards featuring iconic designs from every decade of Topps, hence the selections. 57, 62, 73, 83, 91, 01, 11. Check out a preview of the next 70 years of Topps and a flash to the future with Topps 2091 as well.
I see. I didn't catch that. It actually did say 2091 on the sell sheet. I put 2019 because I assumed that's what it was.
Listexia.
Oh dear Lord, that makes it even worse, guys. So you'll get 2 autos a box, or you should get 2 autos a box. Fan favorite autos are back. I'm super excited for one name on this list. There are going to be 43 cards in total. Some of the bigger names, at least the ones that I kind of pulled from: John Kruk, Dusty Baker, Marlins GM Kim Ng, Kent Herbeck, Joe Carter, and wait for it. I've been clamoring for this name in archives.
Kent Herbeck.
Nope. Julio Franco. What? Julio Franco is going to be in fan favorites. I've been mentioning his name. I thought you'd like years.
The box topper.
I saw that. They also have mini ones. I'm assuming minis probably are
one player.
They're mini poster. So they're going to look just like this. I'm thinking minis are probably normal sized card stock. And then you have the actual poster. There's a few different ones that include the A's for me personally. That swinging A's might be the first one that actually got me excited about buying one of the posters. So,
what's one per hobby box, man? Go buy it.
In years past, the posters were like $40-$50 each. I don't know if I want it that bad. And then also, Topps WWE Transcendent Collection Wrestling comes out on Friday, coming at you at $12,850 a box. There was only one left on Blowout this morning. 153 cards in total, which works out to $84 per card. 50 base cards, 50 autos. There's 50 cases in total for this release, each coming with a VIP experience invite. And then
they probably had to slide this one out just because of Panini's announcement last week before, whatever it was, that they'd secured the WWE license.
Yeah, no, it's I $13,000 for WWE. I mean, there's only 50 cases. I'm assuming this will get gobbled up like all of the Transcendent by breakers and sold to individual bidders. I can't see people probably busting this for personal, but hey, maybe there are diehard WWE collectors out there. I mean, when you break it down to $84 a card, obviously the 50 base cards are going to be less, but when you look at it from that perspective, it's really not that expensive, especially if you have a way in which to move this stuff on the secondary, or again, as a breaker. You have to look at how you would sell these off, because it's not like you can do teams, of course.
I mean, this is kind of a cool idea. One of the however many items that are in the box is a replica championship belt signed by a superstar who's held the championship title. Kind of cool.
Yeah, no, it might be neat. So if you end up busting any, probably as a breaker or as
July
a breakie,
of 2021.
If you end up getting any of this, please share it with us. I'd love to see some of it. I probably won't do any on my own. So if you're out there and you're collecting and a listener, we'd love to feature it on one of our upcoming mail days. If you end up grabbing some of this, it'd be fun. Also coming out this week, everybody's favorite product. It's Steph's, it was Shep's, it's Andrew's, it's mine, it's the person I don't even know down the street. Coming out on Friday, 2021, drumroll please, Panini Chronicles Baseball. We're going to have to pause the show for a moment of silence as everybody out there listening has an opportunity to digest that awesome news. And then also coming out, I think that was
well, you forget though, Chronicles is where you get Obsidian at least.
Yeah, there weren't any A's on that checklist.
Oh, so, Obsidians are the nice ones. They're beautiful.
They really are.
And Mosaic came out this year as a standalone. That was featured in years past.
And Spectra too.
Spectra. I just picked up a Matt Chapman die cut from Spectra. There's good stuff in there. It's the problem that it's just a gross product of 22 different. It's really one of those things. You go to the Golden Corral, and some of the stuff tastes pretty good, but most of it's just there. And at the end of the day, people are sticking their fingers in crap and sneezing on it. And standalone stuff is okay. But again, for team collectors, player collectors, when it's all over the map, it's just, it's a mess.
Well,
also,
so this was featured previously, but I got to mention the review. Panini Recon I saw a individual open 6 boxes and got skunked on each and every single 6 box.
Oh boy.
Rough product. Sorry,
Mhm.
Steve. Maybe choose a different product next year.
I saw a dude drop his Panini Elite Basketball years ago. I think that's what it was. This was probably like 7 years ago. $200 a pack, and he just rolled in there and bought like 4 packs and got nothing. May have got $250 worth of cards. And I came into the LCS the next day. I was talking to the shop owner, and he's like, after you left, he came in and rolled another 3 boxes or packs. Got nothing. He's like $1,400 deep at retail and maybe got $400. And it's just like, if you dropped $800 on 4 packs and got crap, why would you come back in there and buy three more? Unless you're trying to hedge your bet that odds are, yeah, you're going to hit something, right? If the first 4 didn't, the last 3 must have something. It's got to be the mentality. But
not that it matters.
We're going to talk.
But I've been correct that it was Jim, not Steve, that got skunked. But
who is that?
I don't know. When you show cards, you got to remember that sometimes people listen the next day and have no idea why there's this momentary pause.
I can't read it either.
That's a season's greetings
from Texas.
Kellen Mond. I don't know. I figured I'd give to you two crowds something special since we're always.
So also coming out 2021 Panini Prism Racing. I was actually going to put that in a breakdown, and I could not find a sell sheet, so I didn't do a whole lot of hard work. It was just Blowout didn't have one, so that was my extensive
might
research.
know 2 people who would be able to assist in that search, but it's racing.
Val with NASCAR Radio, I'm sure, would be a good resource.
Maybe.
And then last night, the Braves win the World Series. It's like literally, Topps can't come out with Topps Living and Topps Project 70, and you wait all day, and then they drop this crap on us. I'm outside smoking a cigar last night. It's like 9 o'clock. 8:45 whenever the Braves won. Literally, they win. Freddie Freeman's talking about how great this is, and I get an email from Topps. Buy your 15-card World Series team set now. And I'm like, who's up at Topps at midnight dropping this crap? It couldn't have waited until tomorrow. So if you want 2021 Topps now, Atlanta Braves 15-card World Series team set, $50 a set. $100 if you want the auto chases. They are available for approximately 28 more days. All scheduled release dates are subject to change, but were current as of this morning. MSRP pricing and product details were gathered from Blowout cards, and they are subject to change. You can check out Ryan Cracknell's articles on Beckett.com/news for more details on these new releases. What's brewing next week on Wednesday, November 10th, 2021 O-Pee-Chee Platinum Hockey, 2021 Topps Stadium Club Chrome, 2021 Topps Triple Threads, which was supposed to release this week. And then on Friday, November 12th, 2021 Panini National Treasures Baseball, and 2021 Pokemon Dragonite V or Hoop V, and Pokemon Sword and Shield Fusion Strike for Pokemon collectors.
Interesting.
Infield Chatter, Hobby Talk. We mentioned this last week, Golden Marketplace, and we were going to have an update. Not really anything major. I mean, if you go to the website, it states that the memorabilia and card auctions will start Sunday, November 7th. And the website is prompting you to reset your password, verify your information, and why not check your bidding limit. So, if there's anything else.
Somebody else supposed to launch a marketplace as well last month?
Who else?
I thought PWCC.
Oh, yeah. It's all the same crap. Golden Marketplace is not coming at Sport Lots for market share. They're not coming at eBay for market share. It's high end. I imagine the people that are on that website are in the upper 1% of the hobby financially. It's not for the casual collector. Probably don't need to concern yourself, so we're not going to spend a bunch of time on it either. Moving on, one word, Probstein via Ivan at Watch the Breaks and Go GTS. Probstein sold the same card just 19 days apart on eBay. Mind you, not the same card as in there are more than one of them, the exact same card. It was a 2014 Breaking Bad Series 1 through 5 auto of R.J. Mitt, I believe is how you pronounce it, Mitty, who played Walter White Jr. It's a PSA 8. The first one had 57 bids and sold, we'll call it sold, for $1,580. The second one, 19 days later, had 70 bids, and it sold for $50,100. So the first one sold for basically $1,600. The second one, $50,000. Again, it's the same card.
According to Ivan, PSA slap.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same card, not a duplicate, not a second version. It's the identical. According to Ivan, the buyer who did not pay the first time was the bidder who pushed up the auction price the second time. This is why, first off, comps aren't real, because we just don't know. We don't have the data as to what actually gets paid for and what doesn't. And the fact that the same card sells at a ridiculous, I mean, come on. What happened? Did the actor, and again, this is callous, but did he pass away or, become a part of the Avengers? And, what would have warranted such a significant appreciation value in such a short period of time?
This sounds like they had a non-payer or had a disagreement with the final biddy, and once it got relisted, he just spammed it with, I mean, here he is 30-40 seconds apart, going from 36,400 to 46,600. Just a 10 grand jump for no reason, and then the final bid with an extra 100.
What are the odds that this gets paid for?
Well, let's go to the Googles.
Anyway, Probstein, that's all we needed to say, but it's kind of a fun story we figured everybody might get a kick out of. I saw this earlier today. Topps Project 70 and Soulfly are in some water. How hot, we don't know yet. But Paul Lesko at Paul_Lesko. Card number 634 by Soulfly features Shohei Ohtani and apparently has some blatant IP issues. According to Paul, the card is no longer featured in the Topps Project 70 archives. He ran a poll to see whether or not the art will change or not once the card goes to print. I don't recognize the actual art, Steph. I don't know if you do, apart from what it's from.
I mean, I've heard of Shonen Comics, and these are quite literally the exact same characters, just slightly smaller in the corner.
It's I've vaguely heard of it. It's a pretty popular manga series in Japan, is my understanding.
And it's comic book series, is that it?
Manga, so it's not technically comic books, but Japan's version of it, more or less.
It's equatable to U.S. comic.
Okay. So if you're watching live, obviously you can see the comparison. If you're not, the original artwork is of a baseball pitcher with the mitt over his head, perhaps getting into his windup. The Shohei Ohtani is identical. The face is the same.
Yeah.
It's just got an Angels logo, and that cap goes from blue to red. The sleeves go from blue to red. Angels across the chest. And again, as Steph alluded to, it's a slightly smaller picture, but there's no denying that that's blatant copyright. I mean, so we'll see. Heavy J, again, his name is Jason Schwartz.
I believe
Steph?
so. Sounds right.
He had the best response to Paul's poll. I don't know if you can pull up the poll real quick. Basically,
Paul's better.
Paul's poll basically had said, is the art going to stay the same or will it change? Yeah, at this point, we don't know what's going on with it.
I can do you one better to a previous topic. Here's Propsteins. These are ungraded, mind you, but how is one?
The 15,800 sounded high.
One's 90 and one's 85 by now from the UK. So,
so if I wanted the RJ MIDI autograph, raw,
you better be prepared to spend 50 grand. 500 times.
Yeah. So if I wanted one, I could theoretically grab one for about $100.
Sure.
Okay. So Heavy J's response to Paul's poll, I thought was probably the best response and most likely outcome with this Shohei Ohtani card. I don't know what the print run was. I don't have that in front of me. What were the poll results, Steph?
It's starting to load. Actually, they haven't. The poll's still ongoing. 14 hours left. Boop. Let me just pick one. Eeny, meeny. Hey, 49 votes. The art will change has essentially 72%. Card will look the same, roughly 28%. Heavy J that you alluded to. I agree with Nick. I think nothing ships and there is a hole in the sets checklist. I think problems arise with top ships. A version markedly different than was what customers ordered. So fast, safest approach is no card at all.
I concur.
So Paul obviously infamously sued Topps a few years ago with the Topps Now Josh versus John Harrison. Josh Harrison being the correct name, John Harrison being what we saw. You know, we've seen so many issues with the pictures online, we just saw one with Star Wars Living, right? They hadn't changed some of the information from last week. You see that time and time again. And I think, with Project 70, people are going out there specifically buying artists, players, or cards that they like. I bought that because I buy this Japanese manga and I appreciate that, and that's my thing. And now, whoa, there's a Shohei Ohtani that looks just like it. I got to have that card. And now they're going to change the artwork. Defeats the purpose of me buying it. Now you better give me my money back. That's not the card I bought. Are you guys surprised this hasn't happened? We've seen Brittany Palmer do the Jim Palmer with Pac-Man. We've seen there was another, I think it was Chuck Stiles did one on a video game cover, also with Ohtani.
Did they have a problem with the Matsui one?
Yeah, because it had Godzilla. There was questions about. We had questions last year with Project 2020, Gregory Siff and McGuire with the hamburger and whether or not McDonald's. There was also, forget if it was Andrew Thiel, I want to say, from Project 2020. I might be mistaken on the artist that had on the McGuire sleeve had the 1985 Topps card, which was a Topps card, but Topps no longer has the USA license. Panini does, or at least had it at that time. I'm honestly surprised with some of the artwork. All the Snoop Dogg stuff was.
Excuse me, he goes by Snoop Lion now.
I thought he's back to Snoop Dogg.
He's Snoop Dogg on the cards, I believe. So, but he's using artwork from different artists, covers of their albums. Matt Major says it might have been Twin Towers, not Godzilla, that caused the issue. That perhaps is right. But there have been some questionable stuff. As far as IP goes, I don't know if that was the issue with the Twin Towers as much as it was just bad optics with what the Twin Towers represented.
Planes.
But yeah, so I'm surprised that there's not more issues with Project 70, and so we'll have to stay tuned to see if this card actually gets produced or what it is ultimately.
So to interject one here, this is Emily Kless of Tom's. Apparently, they had the Topps Transcendent party, as you can note on the back of one of these. That favorite pro player is Derek Jeter. Favorite pro team is the New York Yankees. Good for her. The Topps Transcendent Captain Collection, I believe is what they called it. Party, I guess, happened today. So for those of you who bought into Topps Transcendent Collection, I hope you had a fun time. Looks like at Marlins Stadium.
Yeah, if you were there, let us know. Show some pictures. We'd love to see some firsthand accounts of that.
Behind the scenes.
Steph and I got a tweet last week.
Did I?
Right before the show started, maybe it might have been Tuesday, Wednesday, and we're like, we're not going to have enough time to fit it in. But there was a listener at ReelFlix, ReelFlix _ NFT. shared this with us last week. RealFlix, the world's first NFT animated baseball card collection, is what it's being coined as. If you go to their website, I don't know the website itself. Really interesting.
Audio. Let me have it
The
with the right buttons here.
yeah, the RealFlix. It was really interesting to look at some of the animated imagery.
They called him El Immortal, the Immortal. In 1988, Hall of Famer and contemporary Buck Leonard said, "If he's not the greatest, I don't know who is. Take your Roots, Cobbs, and DiMaggio's. Give me the Higo, and I bet I beat you every time."
That just makes me want to watch Ken Burns baseball. So
Kind of a fun idea. I like it.
kind of neat, Steph. If you want to throw that out on the About the Cards Twitter timeline for anybody that wants to check out the website, even if NFTs aren't your thing, they're not mine. We've spoken very poorly about them in the past, but at the very least, it was interesting to kind of just take a look at what is being offered. And like we just shared, just a little 15-second, animated, whatever you want to call it, snippet, snapshot of a particular player. It's kind of neat. And we want to thank RealFlix NFT for sharing that. Again, not everybody's thing, but if you got a few minutes and want to kind of check out that website, we'll have it on our timeline for you to do. And then, of course, they've got a Twitter handle as well. Ryan Cracknell with Beckett put out an article, Topps Flagship Japan Edition.
Nice.
So according to his article, it takes the 660 card base set from Series 1 and Series 2 down to just 220 cards. Kind of similar to an O-Pee-Chee, right, Steph? Of old days?
Either O-Pee-Chee or like last year's Topps London release.
Yeah, so the highlight, I think, is going to be the Cherry Blossom Parallels out of 99.
Sure.
And it'll be available on Topps' Japan website for roughly $90 before shipping. We don't know what the shipping cost is going to be. We also don't have a release date yet. What are some of the other parallels?
So you've got a Jade Green, which, so Japan is known for the cherry blossoms, but also their jade, I don't want to say structures, but ornaments or decorations or knickknacks. It's really cool. I actually have a jade pirate ship. Numbered to 75. There was a purple, a gold, a red, and of course the 101 platinums. I know that a few people tried to order these and they're only available to Japanese addresses, which wouldn't surprise me. And really even the product doesn't surprise me so much as apparently with their NPB license essentially going to be their only license going forward, it would make sense for them to try to attract the Japanese market now than when they're ready to push forward with it.
Nice. It'll be interesting. The UK were really fun. It's something different. I'm not usually a big fan. I mean, we've been very critical on this show, Steph, with parallel sets and all the crap that they push out. But hey, it's something different. We'll take a look at it and see once it releases. So if anybody ends up having any information, shoot us a tweet. We'd like to have more of a concrete date if one should drop soon. So
but the date, and I'd like to see maybe some mock-up images, whether the player names or the card stat backs have Japanese characters text, which version of the language they go with, because there's a more simplified and a more traditional language.
Kind of like the heritage French backs.
More so in the way, well, you can go that way, but more so in the way of like how the U.S. has written and cursive.
Kind
of.
Hiragana,
katakana, and kanji, for those that would know, is what I'm alluding to.
It'd be fun, yeah. Once we get a little bit more information, we'll bug Ryan. I'm sure he's extremely on top of things, dropping it once he has it. But if we can get a release date, obviously it'll be before the end of the year, I would imagine. But you never know. So Steph shared this one, a fun one-off to card collecting, there is a website where a collector whose name we didn't have, I looked on the website, I couldn't find it. He's trying to collect a ticket stub from every game that Pete Rose collected a hit in. According to the website, he currently has 2,021 stubs with 408 left to go, obviously accounting for games in which Rose had more than one hit. On his website, there are multiple tabs to see if you can help him finish his project. There's also contact information if you believe you have a stub that he's in need of. Steph, what's the name of it? It's Red Cincinnati.
RedCincinnati.com.
Okay. And it's not the most high-tech website, but it gives you, if you click on one of the tabs, it'll tell you what he has and what he needs. So it looks similar to just an Excel spreadsheet on a website. Mm-hmm. But really cool, wasn't it?
He says.
Database. It's his database. It's on his website. He should have called it redcincinnatidatabase.com/net
You heard
/
He said spreadsheet first.
It was Carlton Fisk, was it not? The other guy that was trying to collect all the stubs?
Carlton Fisk, I think he was down to like 20 games for his entire
or less,
career.
right? I thought like 12 or something. Some stupid number of like. I admire these people for thinking. I mean, all right, we're fans of Puckett, McGuire, Will Clark, respectively. Those guys all started playing in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If we decided we're going to go back and get one for every hit or home run, it would still be a very daunting project.
204 home runs for Puckett.
Still daunting, though, right? 204. Sure. Where do you start? You'd have to make a list of all of those in your database and go from there. But P. Rose started in 1963. Mm-hmm. And spanned damn near 3 decades. Carlton Fisk started in 71, 72, I believe.
72. Mm-hmm.
And basically better part of 2 complete decades. I mean, that's tough. Man, I admire these people, but it just gives me a headache. And gets the heart palpitating when you think about starting a project like this. Like, no thanks. So anyway, hey, cool project. Check him out if you have any laying around or you think you can help him, point him in the right direction, any new avenues other than things like eBay and auction sites. And, again, I don't even know where you would go outside of eBay for something like that, but fun. If you have a one-off collection or know somebody that's collecting something that is closely related to card collecting, memorabilia, ticket stubs, good friend of mine, Brian Johannesson at Sandlot 408, collects all the old Oakland A's pins, makes them himself even, and has an extensive, if you watch an A's game, he's out in right field wearing a huge, like 35-pound vest, and he's known as the pin guy on TV. So those are fun. It's their PC of sorts.
Yeah. So. I'm kind of dabbling in. I don't know if you remember from the late 90s, the headliners.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'm hanging on. I'm hanging on the wall in the garage.
Quasi working on trying to get every single headliner from the collection.
Yeah, it'd be fun to have like all the starting lineups. As horrible as those figures were,
those are a little too big for me, just space wise.
So moving on to this topic, you got to know what you're buying. You have to know what you're buying. We've talked about Ginter before, and what's all this non-baseball stuff, and don't buy it just because it's available, especially with online exclusives, which we know are artificially inflated. A guy who will remain nameless because he's just a knucklehead. He tweeted at Topps about a crappy box of 2021 Topps Sapphire. He paid $280 for. Quite a few people blasted him, myself included, about understanding that this is gambling, especially when you're buying a single box, and that you aren't even remotely close to getting your money back on a single box. You're lucky if you do, but it's the outlier, not the average. I don't have the tweet handy because he blocked me right after I called him out. Even Mark Hoyle, who's a very calm collector, non-confrontational on the Twitter, told this guy, like, hey, dude, you got to know what you're buying. Don't come on bitching to Topps about how they could do this to customers because his rate of return wasn't as anticipated. It's like, just be an adult. Know what you're doing. You dropped $280. Much better spent in plenty of other avenues. You chose to buy Sapphire. You're only going to get, 32 cards in a box or something like that. It's a very large checklist, comparatively like 300 cards. What did you think you were going to get? $280. This stuff Sapphire hasn't been worth that kind of money for 3 years now. Just know what you're buying.
Power cube. Should have got the power cubes.
Yeah, I mean, you probably could have spent that $280 and grabbed a 67, 68, and 69 Mickey Mantle. Graded. Low grade. I think I paid $45 a few years back, probably 7-8 years now, for a 69 O-Pee-Chee mantle.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe 67. But yeah, it's just like, don't complain about not getting your money back. And then he literally is like, did I tag you in that tweet? It's like, dude, it's social media. It's an open forum. No, you tag Topps. And I'm not a Topps apologist. I don't think any of us are. But don't come on to Twitter or any social media and tag the manufacturer and say, man, this is junk. This is crap. Then don't buy it. It's not food. It's not shelter. It's not transportation. This is not a life necessity. It's cardboard. If you don't like it, don't buy it. And Steph's now eating.
But it is food.
It is. So PSA, this happened a week and a half ago. I think we were going to try to get it on last week's show and ran out of time. PSA reaches out to an eBay seller, Ders_Island. That is DERS_Island. He's a seller on eBay, received a message from PSA through eBay saying that the listed card has had its PSA registry number temporarily deactivated, according to the message, due to an issue with the authenticity of the card in question. PSA responded, basically the person's like, hey, is this even real? And PSA responded to the tweet, validating the eBay message saying, yes, that is us. That is real. Steph, you said that this is more common than we might think when I put this in the show DM. How often does ComC do this?
We don't. That? However, a former seller and one of our former sellers, third-party members, I guess, third-party associate, would routinely, if they had an issue with something or they realized that you were trying to claim that you quote-unquote own something because you bought it from them, but they still had it in stock, they would send PSA a message saying, hey, no, this person doesn't own it, or doesn't, I guess, more so have possession of it. We have it. It's not theirs. Please have this removed from their registry. Now, this would quickly get resolved because the customer would eventually receive it and they could just relock it back into their registry. So that this isn't necessarily too surprising that a person would reach this, but props to them for reaching out to ask PSA, to at least get an answer from PSA to clarify that yes, that is indeed the case, and this is from us, and that's why this happened.
Yeah, we're the furthest thing from a PSA apologist, but hey, we've always said on this show, when a company does something right, we will give them kudos, full transparency. In this case, good for them to reaching out via eBay, and then when somebody calls into question the validity of the eBay message, kudos to them for reaching out on Twitter saying, hey, that was us.
And here's what it says on the PSA website for that serial number, PSA slab. Certification number provided, number, has been intentionally deactivated in the database. We believe this message to be an error. Please try double checking your entry for accuracy. If the entry is correct and you require immediate assistance, please contact customer service at number, phone number. For PSA items, please email front and back images of the item to info@psacard.com. For PSA/DNA items, please email images of the item, its signatures, the certification sticker, and the certificate or letter of authenticity to email address at psacard.com. And then there's a form down below to type in your number to recheck a different number in case you got maybe the wrong number or what have you. So it looks like that's what occurred here.
Interesting. Well, good for PSA for reaching out and doing the right thing by their inventory, their customers. Anytime they can be transparent, hey, good for you. I've said this before on the show. Sometimes it's funny how certain topics end up running to certain guests. We had Biggs on last week and Vosbrink on, and I think this is a good topic that was supposed to be asked last week and discussed. Came on this week instead with Andrew, who sells quite a bit on eBay. So it's actually, again, kind of like the show writes itself for the guests. This popped up via It's Triple Crown. I've bought from them quite a bit of times on the eBay, and I've never had any issues with them. I think they're a top-notch seller.
What website do you go to get to the eBay?
You go to www.ebay.com, and that's the eBay. Okay, it's just like the Twitter.
If you go to www.ebay.com, it's going to be a completely different website.
So Triple Crown had to say on eat your hamburger and French fries. They asked their own question. They had complaints about inventory stickers on penny sleeves. Okay, we can talk about tape all we want on top of top loaders and all that other stuff. But Triple Crown, a great eBay seller from personal experience, posed this question of whether it would bother you that the penny sleeve your card arrives in has a internal inventory sticker to make sure that Triple Crown, if it's selling in volume, it keeps track of what you've bought. Mm-hmm. The responses were almost 100% stop. Like in other words, are we really complaining about something so inconsequential? This is tape on top loaders v stickers on penny sleeves. It's a completely different argument. There was only one argument I saw as to why this might be an issue. But what are your guys' thoughts about having inventory stickers just to make sure that you're selling the right item?
As a personal preference, I dislike it usually because the sticker that it is used is a whole lot stickier and it's near to impossible to peel off. Or
off of a penny sleeve? It's a penny.
But then it leaves the indentation and all of that. So some of these stickers are a pain in the butt to peel off.
It's a penny sleeve. Throw the penny sleeve away.
But I paid for it. Why am I going to throw something I paid for away?
Did you though? You paid for the card,
but it was in the picture.
If the penny sleeve in the picture is showing the inventory sticker already on it, you already know you've bought the inventory sticker.
Okay, but what about when they attach a void if removed sticker like certain people from the Northeast?
TNT.
On the top loader or
over the top loader?
That's different because now we're talking about tape in general.
Or the penny sleeve.
I don't think,
dude. If you're putting something like that on top of a penny sleeve, you can kiss my ass.
The difference there is that when you if you put that foil sticker over the top of the penny sleeve, there is still the possibility that card could come in contact with the residue from the tape or sticker. Inventory sticker, it's not getting on the card in that way, so there's no potential to damage the card.
The only argument I saw, Andrew, was somebody had said that it might, like if you're stacking the cards up, that maybe it presses through the penny sleeve and starts to. I can't think of what it goes onto the card. I can't think of the word transfers onto the card, but I think that's a weak argument. And then if that's the only thing you could argue, quit being cheap. A lot of the people are just like, it's a penny sleeve. Stop.
I personally, so when I have breaks and there's redemption cards or there's combo cards that I have to random off to the team, I won't use a sticker, but I'll Sharpie on the sleeve before I put the card in the sleeve what the team is on, so that way when I'm sorting, if it's a random, I know which team won the auction, Or if it's a redemption, I can quickly say, all right, this is for Texas. You do that before you put the card in the sleeve. And I know you're not really worried about damaging your redemption anyway, but
yeah, just write it on just write it on the card. Come on, it's just the redemption card.
well, I don't want to mess with people's redemptions. I know redemptions don't technically carry value as a mint grade. I think I've never actually looked for that, but
people do buy them.
Yeah, but do you buy them for the grade of it? Yeah, but so I understand. I mean, like I said, so long as you're not doing something that could potentially damage the card, I don't have an issue with it. I understand what they're saying, stacking and pressing the imprint. You'd have to get to that level, you'd have to be very callous in how you're jamming all of those top loaders together to the point where if you're pressing that hard, you're really like, you can't even get the cards out of your box at that point. Like
you would have to shove a ton of penny sleeves
and hold them there for clamp them together for a long time. Like
let's say it holds 100 in a box. You'd have to put 130 or more in there
and keep them there for a long time. You know, I understand that it can happen, and it would just. I mean, you'd have to if it were just if you were just putting the cards together in only the penny sleeves in the cards, that's a little bit different because yes, then the imprint could transfer through a little bit easier. But if you're keeping it in, if you put the sticker on the penny sleeve and then place it in the top loader, I'd be hard pressed to see that top loader wouldn't provide you the level of protection that you need, simply by way of that being so much more rigid than your penny sleeve. It's gonna distribute the force away from that slight bulge.
There was an old commercial, I forget what it was for, but guy's doing something on the computer. He gets up and he's like, "I'm done." And the wife's like, "What are you done?" He's like, "I'm done with the internet. I've read it all." She goes, "What are you going to do now?" And he goes, "I guess I'll go mow the lawn." And so it's like, is this what it's come to in the hobby where we've bitched about everything, and this was the last topic that we hadn't gotten to yet. So here we go.
Tape to me, tape on top loaders is a much bigger issue.
It is, and we've talked about that
than this.
Far more. I don't want to say persistent, but far more smaller issues that get complained about much more frequently. And it's like, guys, just let it be. This is the way that we do things now.
If this is the
Just
topic that we choose,
petty would be good.
Yeah, petty, frivolous. That one's out there for Paul. If this is what we have to bitch about, we're doing something right. Like if this is what it's come to, this is the only thing, kind of a thing, if that makes sense. So this has been an interesting topic. ACO cards, homemade cards, and what draws the line of what is acceptable, what is legal. We know that Card Collector, I think it was, or Collector Universe, maybe with a K, and Panini had a big lawsuit for a while with the rated rookie cards being sold on eBay. There's a thin line between ACO and art cards and then copyright infringement. Via Roselle Avenue on Twitter, this guy apparently had been contacted by Topps a while back, and I believe it was a cease and desist, and they basically just said, stop what you're doing, because he was literally taking an image of Ricky Henderson and taking the Oakland A's logo and slapping it on a 1965 card. Homemade, here you go. Ricky Henderson, he doesn't own the rights to the Ricky Henderson image, nor does he own the rights to the 1965 Topps design, nor does he have permission to use the A's logo and registered trademarks. And he was selling them, and he's still doing it. He did change or pivot some, but he continues to create customs. I've had conversations with 2 lawyers about this guy, both of whom have been on About the Cards, hint, hint, and both are basically saying this guy's basically dancing on broken glass over a 100-foot canyon.
Would you say that he's maybe hopping from glass pane to glass pane, trying not to find the one that breaks?
I was just about to say there's a Squid Game reference here. If you've seen episode 7, I believe it is,
somewhere in there. No
with
spoilers.
the tempered glass. But yes, he is basically doing that. And one of the 2 lawyers who have been on this show has said, how has this guy not been sued yet? Presumably by Topps or Getty or whomever. If Topps has already had contact with this guy, is he infringing on the Mickey Mantle license and protected copyrights by that Mickey Mantle that you just showed? I mean, he didn't own any of that.
I mean, it depends on what connections or. So, I mean, he very well may have bought the photo rights off Getty.
I doubt
There's
that.
no way for us to know. Highly doubt it, sure. But my bigger complaint would be something like this. Okay. Anybody and their mother looks at it, it's 84 Topps.
Mm-hmm.
You have the box. You have the head floating above it. You have a photo frame. You have the team name along the left side and the player name at the bottom, as well as the position in both white and black.
So
he's. You have the top border with a Roselle iconic sticker over the top, similar to 2 very, very, very similar products that were released on a daily to multiple time weekly basis from a certain 5-letter company in the industry.
So presumably he is borrowing without permission the White Sox name, Carlton Fisk's name, Carlton Fisk images times 2, the 1984 Topps design. I mean, be careful when you're buying ACO cards. I do have some in my personal collection, some that were gifted to me. And again, if he's making them and he's giving them to you, that's a whole different argument and discussion than if you're buying
commercial,
them.
Non-commercial, sure.
You know, I mean, there's nothing to say that you can't draw me a picture. Jared Kelly, if he wants to draw me a picture and send it to me, a Mark McGuire, he hasn't done anything wrong. But if he all of a sudden borrows an image and then does it and then sends it to me and I send him money, that's where we start to get into this gray area of, have we violated any, IP and copyright and trademark and registered, laws. Just be careful. It's just interesting that 2 lawyers have basically said the same thing, that this guy is setting himself up for a lawsuit.
Barry Bonds.
So, without this loading, with the burlap dotted border along the left side and Barry Bonds seemingly San Francisco Uni in the center and burlap along the right side, without me clicking on this, does this look like an archives card from 1968 Topps?
Yeah. How would you know that it's not?
Well, because I clicked on it.
No, I know you would. I'm just saying how. I mean, even if you click on it without it being with his logo clamped to the top of it, how would you know? And the fact that his name is across the that absolutely looks like it could be part of Topps archives.
The only way you'd know this time is you just happen to know Barry Bonds.
But this is copyright
how many years
to his industry.
On top of it all, yeah, it's copyrighted for him.
Like, I get it. A guy wants to create custom cards, cool. I know there are certain people on the forums that create custom cards for Out of the Park, the baseball simulator.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can have, say, Connie Mack managing the 1989 Giants, for example, or the Phillies, I guess would maybe be a better example, with an 89 Topps design, mock-up design. Big difference. Custom use for yourself.
Yes. Yeah, we have the same thing in my MLB Showdown group.
Sure.
There is a bot that will make, or a program that will make any MLB Showdown card for any player any year for stats, but they're very strict about, you cannot print these out and distribute them to whoever. It's for personal use only. However you want to do with it for your own use is fine. They're very strict about that. For that reason.
Just be careful. I mean, that guy's already been contacted by Topps with a cease and desist, and then he changed it a little bit, but So this leads into another topic, and we could probably have this topic on staff every couple of months. What trends have you noticed in the hobby lately? This came via Card Purchaser a few weeks back. Some responses on the thread said more card availability, less flippers. Cards have started to return to Target.
And
Walmart, lack of views on eBay listings. Twitter Sunday is a market flood of players who are performing well, so your Twitter timeline blows up when somebody scores a touchdown. Nobody is buying singles. There are more card shows in general, and they're happening more frequently. There has been a rise in vintage Hall of Famers costs. And then there was an interesting response. I don't know if you want to click on it, Steph. I can probably do it real quick. That I thought was a really interesting response in regards to this particular trend.
From Ivan Victor, a lot of people complaining about problems that began 2 years ago with them at the helm, and now that it's exhausted their ability to control or dictate it, they hate what the hobby has become.
Yeah, essentially, if you were at the forefront of, say, the flipper movement, and you were one of the hobby kings of that, and then everybody hopped on that train, and now, you're upset at basically the monster, the Frankenstein that you created within the hobby.
Sure.
Wait, so you mean to tell me a few months ago I wasn't seeing a lot of Mike White cards listed on Twitter?
And next week it'll be Who's Mike White?
Who is Mike White?
So any trends you guys have noticed over the last month or so, 2 months?
I've seen a good bit more people trying to post individual sales. Either their opening product that they stocked up and, hey, look at the things that I got in my box. For example, good one here. I opened 4 packs of 2021 Panini Prestige. Decent product. Kind of liked it for the availability that it had. Trevor Lawrence, an extra points parallel. Nice shiny. I think that it's a sunburst parallel. But I'm not posting this all over Twitter saying $6, $10, $15, whatever it's worth. Whatever people may assume that it might be worth. The sales threads have become a whole lot more common. At least at the shows, it seemed like there were more vendors than there were individual people walking by. Now, that's also because we were at a huge, however many thousands square foot show. So take that into consideration.
Still the ratio of vendors to customers
seemed a little lower. Yeah. And then slower shipping, either because of supply issues or companies changing who they run their shipping through. Things seem to be taking a little bit longer than they used to.
Rich Frank in the chat says that cards pre-1970 Hall of Famers have continued to go up.
Sure.
Herman's saying blasters are sitting on Walmart shelves now at 2020 eBay prices, since a lot of that inflated from the $20 to the $30 and $40 range.
Sure.
I actually bought 2 silver pack McGuire parallels today, the gold out of 50 and the purple out of 75. Both of them combined would have been what I would have paid last year for the same, just one of the 2 parallels.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was surprised that the buy it nows on both of them. One of them was extremely inexpensive. And I was like, I've got to buy both of these right now. Because again, I would have expected to pay twice as much when I saw him on the checklist. It's like, oh man, that's going to cost X. And it cost half of X. And I don't know if maybe I just got lucky, but it does seem certain things, there is less competition on certain cards than really in the past 18 months, which is a good thing.
I wish that translates to Will Clark. Still can't afford a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, a lot of the 80s, 90s star stuff is still inflated. And it probably always, but it always was too. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
again, a lot of as the top rises, the rising tide brings up the bottom, so to speak, as well. A lot of people trying to recoup their rate of return, and subsequently the lower end cards artificially cost more just because people are trying to recoup them. And comps are not real, but it's what we have. And if you have it listed that way, I'm going to have it listed that way. And before you know it, all 10 cards on eBay right now are all listed in a similar price range. Does that mean that's the new market, or does that just mean it's a reflection on the market in general? I would tend to say the latter, but I would listen to somebody that wants to argue the former. I'm sure Uncle Rich would. So yeah. Anyway, if you've noticed any hobby trends that weren't mentioned in that thread that I read through, let us know. We'd kind of like to get some insight on what you're seeing in the hobby, since we all kind of live in different parts of the hobby. And so we're going to see different things. And of course, our educational background and our experience background, our budgetary background is all going to parlay into how we see certain things through different prisms. So it'd be definitely interesting if you want to tag about the cards and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. And, in my neck of the woods.
When are we going to start seeing things through different optics?
We should always see things through different optics.
We said prism.
Somebody should really chronicle this.
There you
go. So an idea for an archive/online release. I don't know if the pick is anywhere. It was in our DM, but a long, long time ago. I was talking to my dad, and he had an idea. There was actually a then and now set done some time ago, which had players at the beginning of their career versus the end of their career. And he's like, what about a then and now release similar to that? And basically his thought was, you take a Mark McGuire, a Will Clark, Don Mattingly from the 80s and show them during their playing days, and now show them as an older individual. What do they look like in 2021? And maybe you only focus on guys from maybe the 70s or the 80s, just because anything more recent, they probably haven't changed all that much if they've retired in the last 10, 12 years. But guys that have...
Jaromir Jagr is probably still playing. You could do it then and now.
You could have him and Julio Franco in a new teammates card instead of Hernandez and Simeon and Bichette. But I thought it'd be kind of an interesting idea. Some of us know, obviously, guys like Don Mattingly are still in major leagues, so we know what he looks like. But maybe guys that aren't as well around as much. What do they look like nowadays? Now that they're 60 years old, 65 years old. Yeah, it'd just be kind of an interesting idea. My thought was, if you did like a 250 card base set, you could have 5 online waves of 50 cards each with maybe 5 chase autos parallels, because that's just the way Topps goes. Do you guys think, the more we talked about it, the more I was like, yeah, it sounds really good. And again, conceptually versus execution in our house, while we're just BSing and shooting the crap, sounds like a really good idea until we look at it and go, nobody outside of Ben would buy something like this. And even then, I'd only buy whoever the A's are.
Well, how about a 50 years of, you have Ron Washington in 1971 and Ron Washington at the Braves game the other night.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Guys from the 70s and 80s, what did they look like while they were playing versus what do they look like now?
As a
you get your Walt Weiss from 1991 in his awesome, throwing pose, hanging up in the air, throwing the ball to first base, and then you get him as a little old, 57-year-old man with a bald head. Yes, 1983 also had the super veteran as well, so there was that. And there was a more modern one, because I know that there was a Miguel Cabrera and I want to say Carlos Beltran, if not mistaken. So, yeah, there have been a few iterations of it, but it'd be kind of fun. Have a modern day one. Why not? They've done everything else over and over and over and over again. So we've got a few evergreen topics to get to. There's one that I think would be kind of fun. We mentioned it earlier about error cards. I was talking about error cards again with my dad while I was sorting through this collection I had recently acquired. This is a huge rabbit hole. and we could probably talk for an hour or hours on this topic. But what is an error card? There are tons of quote unquote error cards out there, but not all fall under the same universal umbrella. Does it have to be corrected in order for it to be an error? Or essentially an error card is just a mistake, right? That's the wrong image, text, misspelling. Is that Braves or Blue Jays card we mentioned earlier in the show, is that an error card? Because if they all look that way, it's not an error card, right? It's just they got the wrong player on the card. Is that an error? If a card has an accident on it, say a wrong spelling, like when they did Greg Nettles and Craig Nettles, isn't it just the way it is? If all cards are made identically, even if erroneously, does it need a correction? Like the Billy Ripken F-face card that has 4 or 5 variations.
I mean, I would argue that yes, it is an error. However, it's not a variation unless there has been a correction akin to the F-face.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is an error on the card.
Yes.
So error.
So wrong image follows under that. Wrong spelling of a name. I mean, I found one the other day of Mark McGuire where on the front it's spelled correctly, and on the back the W is substituted with a U.
Yeah.
And here's something. You know, Matt Major says it's an error, but no premium unless there's a correction. And the Rich Frank says there must be a correction.
I think once a Cub is right, it's an error. That doesn't mean it's more valuable or less valuable than the others. I think once you have the correction, then you get into the error variations. But yeah, it's just because it's an error card doesn't mean it's valuable more or less as well.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun topic. And again, we could probably talk hours on what is and what isn't, because, you know, it's a really big rabbit hole. And he's like, yeah, it's just like there's happy accidents. And I'm like, this isn't Bob Ross here, Dad. But it's an interesting, you know, because he infamously, in my hobby life, he traded the C-3PO Star Wars card that had the extra piece of metal coming up from his waist.
Mm-hmm.
He traded that for the Billy Ripken F-face card, which as a 10-year-old kid was awesome to have a card that had the F word on it. And, you know, it was neat. Are those error cards? Well, I think both of them have had additional corrections or different versions. So yeah, those are error cards.
Just because something is changed, though, does not mean it's an error. Like the two that I'm looking at here, that Steph shown of the 1969 Twins rookie stars, Danny Morrison. Oh, you're talking about. I thought that you were talking about the borders. The borders are different too. If it were just the borders that were different, to me, one of those is not an error. They're variations, but they're not errors.
This is as intended. The other is with the quote unquote loop that was added.
Mm-hmm.
Or wasn't removed. This I would say is an error card. This I would say is the base.
Yeah.
In that, it would depend upon what were they intending it to look like.
Well, and you have the what's the guy on the 87 Donruss Barry Bonds? That's the player that was.
Oh,
yes. Opening 1987 opening day. Donruss opening day with the maroon border, and it's a different player. I just saw it the other day. And then you have the 1990 Donruss, John Smoltz, Tom Glavine, where there's the John Smoltz with John Smoltz on it, and then there's the Smoltz with Glavine's picture on it. You know, there's a lot of, you know, 88.
He's talking about Johnny Ray.
Johnny Ray, there you go. Good call. Yeah.
Will Clark has a bunch of those from early on in his career where either his birthday's off by 1 year, they got the number of RBIs he had wrong. It's just very minor things that still to this day don't know how people notice that. But
I mean, if you want to see very minor things.
No, I know about the Donruss dot thing that you're.
That's actually not where I was going.
Oh.
this guy. Now, there is a collector, and I can share this in the show notes or later on. Richard Dingman has a website. It's hosted on Google. But essentially, he has his errors and variations that he's chasing down. So in this example, I clicked on Bowman 48 to 55. Printed name on back, script name on back, with copyright line, without copyright line, dull images, normal clear images.
Oh my god.
Quiz answer is 8, quiz answer is 33. Fielding average, which was a far more common one in the 50s and 60s, where they calculated something wrong, recalculated it, and put it in the right number. Yeah. There's also a rather infamous 60s card where the light structure in the outfield is lit versus not lit, or even 62 tops, the green tint.
Mm-hmm.
I would clearly argue that all of these are errors.
See, but if it's a printing issue where there's a variation color because a series of them went through without, like the green tint, I don't know if that was intentional or if it was just a batch that got a green tint to it, so they're a little more scarce. Those aren't errors.
Those are misprints.
But is a misprint not an error?
Well, again, that's why I said that the rabbit hole.
Not necessarily, because that one is not an error on Tops's part per se. That's a
printing issue.
Yeah, it's a printing.
Tops's error in accepting them.
Well, yeah, I mean,
literally every card.
If I've got a 1985 Henderson, I jokingly tweeted it out the other day about being screwed and whether or not Topps would replace any of them that were off center, and one had a little white dot on the pennant, and it's like, that's just something that happened during the printing. That's not an error. Doesn't make that card worth more. Is it cool that I have one that has it and then I have one or more than one that doesn't? Yeah, that's neat to have, but hell, I wouldn't go out and spend any money on it if I saw it on the eBay and somebody's like, hey, it's got a white dot here. Sorry. You can keep it at that point. But so I got one more topic before I want to get into one last tidbit type thing. If we still have some evergreen ones we will have to get to at some point. Mm-hmm. Interesting internal debate. If you listed something considerably over recent comps, take comps for what they are, would you want somebody to tell you? Wax Addicts asked this. And also one-off if you mislisted something. In other words, like Series 1 through the years where you actually, at first people were like, hey, I pulled an auto. Maybe you legitimately thought it was an auto first day before. Andrew, if I'm perusing your eBay and you've got a card that's routinely selling for $20 and you've got one for $100, would you want somebody to point it out, or is that,
no,
hey, mind your own business?
I've done that before. I had a Mike Trout 2010 Bowman Platinum or something that I pulled from a box, auto numbered to like 25. I pulled from a box myself. I've kept it for 12 years. I listed it for a bit higher than what I thought it was worth because to me it had more sentimental value than that. And so I knew that it was listed by more, and people kept telling me, hey, I think it's listed too high. It's like, no, that's the number that I would be willing to break away for this card. Anything less than that, to me, it holds more sentimental value. And finally, I just took it down because I was sick of people telling me that's listed too high. It's like, no, that's what I'm willing to sell it for. If you're not willing to pay it for that, then that's your prerogative. You can look at the next listing. But, just because you wouldn't pay that much doesn't mean somebody else wouldn't.
Well, and you really wouldn't be surprised by the amount of people that try to haggle or, well, hey, whenever you decide you actually want to sell this, I'll take it at this price. Okay, that's nice, but it's totally not how you negotiate with someone on your first message. Yeah. Ben.
I'd much rather somebody let me know, like in the through the years inserts, hey, this is not a real auto. Oops, didn't know.
That's something different. That's if I made a mistake in the listing, yes, I would definitely feel grateful if somebody told me. And there have
Absolutely.
been, and I have done that to other people where they've listed something incorrectly, and I've let them know, hey, I don't think this is the right card.
Yeah, I was selling a bunch of postcards for my dad, and there was it looked like the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. And I've been there a number of times, and it was not listed on the postcard, but everything that I saw, and I put Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk ? And in the description inside the listing, it was like, I believe this is to be there. And somebody reached out and said, no, it's this one from New Jersey. And you can tell because of this, and this. Okay, hey, awesome, man. I didn't know because I showed you the back of the postcard and it didn't specify. I appreciate that information. Let me change the listing. But I did put 2 different areas. I was not certain that I had that listing correct, and somebody smarter than me on that particular thing said, hey, I know you're wrong. Awesome. So yeah, through the years, by all means, let me know it's not a real auto. How many people were fooled by that? If you don't like my price, it's my price. Don't buy it. Unless it's stupid like that third base cards guy, the Eric Hosmers and the Babe Ruth. Screw that guy.
I don't know that, but I agree with Ben. Screw that guy.
Screw that guy. Can you still hear me okay, guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Surprisingly.
Real quick before we wrap up the show, thoughts on Buster Posey retiring? Will it affect his card market?
Only in that he only has like 1,500 hits. Stats aren't there per se. Catcher, so there's that. But I think the playoff helps him limp in.
Limp in?
2nd to 5th ballot.
Oh, I was looking forward to him becoming the first Giants to be a first ballot Hall of Famer since Willie Mack.
Not gonna happen. Not a Hall of Famer. He got aided by 2 things. Ted Simmons finally got in, and that's a very close comp. And if Joe Mauer gets in first, if Mauer gets in, Posey has a path. But
what's this if shit?
Mauer's WAR was like 12 points higher than Posey's, and the 2 most comparable. Well, let's go with 3 most comparable players for Posey are Thurman Munson, Gene Tennis, and Bill Freehan. So take that for what that is.
Yeah, but the catcher position has definitely evolved in even the last 20 years. And name me a better catcher during Posey's era than Posey.
Molina.
What?
Molina, Mauer. I mean,
Mauer was not during his time, was he?
No, a little bit before.
Mauer was pretty much done. Like
05 is when he came in.
He was the kid. Who? Posey? No,
Mauer.
Oh.
No, the interesting tidbit is they both played the exact amount of time, and they both retired at 34 or 35.
Shows you. I think you're going to find that very few. I think Yachty is going to be the exception. Very few catchers can just survive the day-to-day grind.
Sure.
Of it, and you will see that these catchers just don't last that long. And
I'm on the fence with Mauer. And I think he's got a better case. I really do. I think, you argue World Series. Well, Gene Tennis had 3 World Series too. And had a higher.
I think Posey had Rookie of the Year, MVP. I think he's going to get another Comeback Player of the Year, so 2 comeback players.
It's arbitrary. It's popularity contest. It's arbitrary. It's like when people are like, 7-time All-Star. Yeah, okay, dude. Well, Yao Ming was injured his entire career and made an All-Star game. And Tracy McGrady and Cal Ripken, and how many guys made the All-Star game because they were popular?
Palmeiro got a Gold Glove at first base despite starting only 45 games.
Jeter got Gold Gloves, so to me the Gold Gloves are
another arbitrary. Yeah. All right, guys, we're at 2 hours. We probably should wrap it up here pretty quick. Any final thoughts?
Look at every name around Mauer and look at every name around Posey.
I think Mauer has a better case. I honestly do, and I've said before I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but
they both are.
I think
they both are.
Posey has to be thinking his lucky stars that Simmons got in, and he needs to really be hoping that Mauer gets in. and I think then Posey is got a much easier path to get there.
I think if neither of those two guys get in, you won't see a catcher get in for 20 years.
Yeah, Molina actually has worse numbers than both of them. And
Yeah.
who's the next one? Salvador Perez.
Salvador Perez is not going to get in.
And that's the thing.
At least not as of right. That's what I'm saying. Not as of right now. I mean, that's the thing. If Mauer and Posey don't get in, then who will?
AJ Pierzynski.
I mean, there's. I mean, even you look at these young catchers. There's no young catchers who are going to get in if they don't get in.
No. So yeah, if they don't get in, yeah, it'd be Molina, Mauer and Posey, and then you have Molina, you have Perez, and I don't think either of those guys. I think Molina might get in just because.
Adley Rushman.
Have Joey Bart.
Yeah.
All right, so
maybe.
Guys, we're at the 2-hour mark. Remember, we are live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and review on all platforms. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. At About the Cards, you can follow Steph at Junkwax Twins. Andrew, where can we find you?
Where am I at? Bayside Breakers.
And there's your eBay link down below.
That's right. And then you follow me at Our Trading Cards. Please share your hobby stories, great polls, send your questions our way. We appreciate all the support, all the views, all the listens, all the feedback, all the interaction. Keep collecting next week. We need to verify with him, but Dub Mentality is slated for next week. So we will.
Awesome.
So, all right, guys and gals, good night.
See you guys next week.